Hi guys, Alex here and welcome to my personal YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be guiding you through Siora by Beyond. It's a new master plan community here in Dubai on Dubai Islands with the first launch within the master community called Hado.
Welcome to Siora.
If you've been following along my videos that I've built over the last years on other channels, you know that my job is to educate you first and foremost on the real estate market here in the UAE. Not really just to sell you something, but to make sure that we're allocating capital to the best possible projects that provide the highest returns. Yes, this means there are many developers that I don't cover, and that's by design, because only, I believe, the top 10% of the market will make the highest returns, and everything else will be subject to corrections. People will have difficulty exiting, and just stay tuned until the end to see if this project aligns for you. And let's dive into it to see what it's all about. Just to take a step back, we have Dubai here, and there are really not that many areas that are, let's say, in short supply. Areas like JVC, like Arjan, etc., they're heavily oversaturated. And in general, I tend to favor waterfront investments. I tend to favor investments that are branded, part of master plan communities. These tend to be the criteria for good investments. And what makes something good means we can exit at a profitable with a profitable amount, and the timing is usually 2 to 3 years. Sometimes I see people thinking that they can exit in 6 months or 12 months after making the investment. Keep in mind that's generally not the case. It's very rare that that happens, and generally you're going to be exiting close to original price if you need to make that happen. So as always, when we're planning something, we need to understand how we're going to be exiting, when, and to whom, and that's my job to guide you through this, and when we speak in person, to create a personalized strategy for you and your family. So coming back to the areas, in terms of major developments right now, we have Palm Jebel Ali and the surrounding area, as well as hitting a little bit of the edge of Abu Dhabi here with Bain by Aura. And going down the coast, the Jumeirah coast, we had Salaya launch recently, which I'm a huge fan of. There's still a few units left there potentially. I think that will double investors' money. But let's dive here. We have Maritime City, and I've covered launches from Beyond here in the past. They're building a master community here that's starting to become a little bit saturated at this point, and I'm happy to see a new master community begin to take shape here on Dubai Islands. So we have a few islands here. Mainly Island A has been developed quite a lot. It's being built by a lot of different developers. Ellington had a project here which was notable. A lot of other ones are here kind of on the inside. And so this island is starting to become like JVC on the water. And I don't really recommend it because the focus should always be on waterfront areas with good views. Because I've seen scenarios where people try to exit, and the difference in price on the same floor in the same building between a unit that has a view that's open, especially of the water, and one that doesn't, can be 50% price difference. So that's important when selecting units. This project is going to be part of a master community that's here on Dubai Island B. And generally I'm a fan of Island B. Why? Because it's more private. There have been some launches here from Avenue that I quite like, and Avenue is a little bit more expensive. Nahil obviously launched Bay Villas here, I think it was over a year ago at this point, and Bay Grove over here, and now we have a new master community from Beyond. The community is called Siora, as I mentioned, and I want to zoom in a little bit just to give you the overview. So there's going to be a lot of buildings. 6 here on the back end that are higher rise. These are about 21 floors, and several here that are more low rise. You can understand these are going to be more expensive. And here, these are meant to be hotels. And of course you have the beach. So you have a park throughout, which is quite nice. So you have a lot of different amenities. You can walk around. Right now, this first building, building A, is being launched, and that's the one that we're going to talk about today. But it's important to keep in mind that this is part of a bigger master plan. And what this means for investors is when you're coming in at the early stages of a master community, that's the best time to get in. because people coming in and buying the last couple buildings are going to be paying much higher pricing because the developer increases prices by 5 to 10% every single launch. And so by the time you start getting towards the later launches, you're already paying significantly more than people who came in earlier. And if you're buying it for end use, that's okay. If you're buying in as an investor, it presents a problem because we're going to be wanting to exit at around a similar time as other buildings, and it's important to have as less competition as possible. So with that being said, let's dive into the building. If you've seen launches from Beyond before, you kind of know what these are. The brochures, I'm not going to go through the entire thing, but I'll highlight the things that are important to keep in mind. So Siora is the master plan. It's taking up a pretty significant chunk of Island B with its own beach access, which I quite like. That's in general, the beach line is less than 1% of all the land area in the UAE, and so that's something to keep in mind when we talk about corrections. The ones that are going to be hit by market downturns are areas that are on the lower end of the segment, so economy segment, budget segment, which I generally don't deal with for that reason, because I don't think they're very good investments. Here, when you have beach line and you have the population of Dubai growing by over 200,000 people per year, the traffic sometimes can reflect that these days, but this means that the people who are coming, they need places to live, and they're always going to first choose areas that are desirable, that are premium, that are more private. Hence, the more private and the closer something to the water is, the easier it is going to be for us to exit in a couple years. I hope that makes sense. The project, as I mentioned, here's another look, several towers. I think it's nicely designed, and we have, here's another look, at least of the first 3 buildings. The way this looks kind of reminds me of Royal Atlantis at a fraction of the price. Of course, I like when there are these design aspects built into the project. Some nice oval shape pool designs, rounded curves. Every building is going to have a valet, concierge. You're going to be able to walk to the beach, which is quite nice. Lots of greenery, which is another trend that we're seeing more and more in Dubai, as nature is something that people sometimes miss when they move here. I like their fairly minimal, clean color palette and aesthetic. When you compare this to some other developers that build glaring gold and black and leopard print, I'm personally not a huge fan of that. I think it's kind of garish. And when you have a design aesthetic like this, it's in a way similar to Ellington's. It means that it appeals to more people around the world, more cultures, more nationalities, and so that improves our odds of being able to exit at a favorable price. As you can probably tell by the names, they have Japanese design principles here. I think I can imagine myself living in something like this. It would be quite beautiful. Let's take a look. They have a few different renders. Kitchens, I think tastefully designed. Bedrooms, once again, minimal aesthetic, beautiful views towards the water. And I'll cover this when I talk about the floor plans. But in general, because these buildings are high rise, and behind them you only have Nahil Bay villas, even the units looking on the back side are still going to have views of a villa community and water on the other side. I'll show you what it looks like here, right? So the backs of the buildings will be looking towards over the bay villas, and these are obviously all 1 or 2 floors. So you'll have views of the water even if you're facing the backside. The best views are going to be facing this way. Let's not get that confused. And I would always aim for 2, 3, 4 bedrooms, penthouses that have open views of the water. In general, that's going to be the best bet for appreciation. A few different renders, nice experience with a valet. I've gotten kind of used to this at this point. I was just in Brazil traveling, and yeah, the amenities that we start to take for granted here in Dubai are definitely there because it does not exist in other parts of the world. So the fact that you're getting a modern building, very thoughtfully designed with the concierge and amenities, it's not everywhere in the world is that the case. You have some nice cabanas, fire pits, chef's kitchen. So we're starting to see an expansion of amenities as standard that's happening in Dubai. In some of the older buildings, it's literally like the lobby, a tiny fitness center, and a tiny swimming pool. But in the newer buildings, of course, you have things like a cigar lounge, and you have a hall where you can have meetings and a coffee, kids rooms. You have a very spacious fitness center, saunas, yoga and meditation spaces. I like this trend on wellness that's happening. Okay, so that's it for the brochure, but let's talk about the floor plans. Now, these are the plates. Let's talk about the plans. This is probably the most intense floor plan I've ever seen because I think it's like 90 pages or something. They have so many different types of units and they go through each one by one. That makes it a little bit more complicated to select the right unit because what do I look for and what do I advise people look for when they're selecting units? First of all, making sure that the balcony is not super huge. Like this is an example of a pretty big balcony. So this is a 1-bedroom that's 1,000 square feet, which is great if you like the living space, but for investment purposes, you generally want this balcony to be a little bit smaller. It's not a deal killer, but still, the 1-bedrooms here are from 770 square feet up to almost 1,100 square feet, almost 1,200 in this case. And there are so many of them. We can go through this in person when we discuss the investment, but I just wanted to show you how easy it is to make a misstep here. And this is one of the most common mistakes that people make in buying real estate is they don't pay attention to where the unit is facing or what's in front of it. Then there's something else that gets built and they lose the view and then it's difficult to resell. So that's no good. That's why with my clients, I always we go through a strategy, like we have a clear strategy for going into any launch. Here, yeah, okay, finally I got to the 2-bedrooms. The 2-bedrooms are, I think they're like 1,100 square feet up to almost 1,600 square feet, and 3-bedrooms are 1,600 to 2,500 square feet. So the 3-bedrooms here can be quite large. Same with the 2-bedrooms, honestly. The pricing is not yet fully revealed, but it's expected to be 3,000 to 3,500 per square foot. What this means in terms of pricing is for 2-bedrooms, likely between 3.5 and 5 million, and 3-bedrooms somewhere between 5.5 and 9 million. And of course, this range exists because of the different balcony sizes, the different unit sizes, the different views, the higher floors. Basically, the higher floor something is, the more expensive it will be. The bigger the balcony, the more expensive it will be. Sometimes people hear, oh, prices start at 2.5 million for 1-bedrooms or 2 million for 1-bedrooms. And they expect to get those prices. Guys, that's ridiculous. It doesn't exist. It means it's the first floor, it's looking into a wall, and I wouldn't even consider that as a purchase. So when you hear something like starting at 2 million for a unit, expect 2.3 to 2.5 for a decent investable unit. That means don't aim at the low end. Aim to get the best possible unit with the best possible view, because that's what's going to set us up for being able to exit. It's important to keep that in mind. Yeah, so what does this mean in terms of investment potential? Well, they have a pretty favorable payment plan, actually, which I'm happy to see they kept for Maritime City. It's 50-50. The completion date is Q2, Q3, 2029. So now we're starting to see more and more 2029 plans. All in, I think that's very good in Dubai. Generally, the standard is 60-40 or 70-30. Here, it's 50-50, meaning we pay 10% down payment and then another 40% during construction, and then the last payment on handover. For the handover payment, in case you don't know, it's possible to get a mortgage, whether it's whether you're a resident of the UAE or whether you're not, still it's possible to get a mortgage from a UAE bank. And that's something that people do. But in general, we aim with my investors to resell about 3 to 6 months prior to handover. That's going to be the best timing for resale, because we're going to be selling often to end users and they want to be able to take a mortgage. And so the building needs to be complete in order for that to be possible. That's why that resale timing is what it is. And also the appreciation curve of a building, it's not linear. So in the first year or 2 years, it's not going to appreciate as much as it will in the 3rd year. Why? Because generally the appreciation depends on the entire community becoming more and more developed. It relies on the building itself being closer to completion, and it relies on other projects in the area being launched at higher pricing. These are the factors that generally drive appreciation for a particular building, so keep that in mind. So with all this being said, and the prices are what they are, does this make this a good investment? From my perspective, yes, certainly, especially the first few launches in a master community. It's on the water, it's a solid developer. The design and finishing is high quality. So from that standpoint and the payment plan, I think it's great for resale. I think it's also From a rental standpoint, it remains to be seen, but honestly, rentals, I generally orient people, aim for 6 to 9% or so, and that will be kind of the target. And on resale, we can make in 3 years about 50 to 100% on capital invested, especially with a payment plan like this. So capital appreciation and resale will always outstrip passive income. We can always create a diversified and balanced portfolio where we have both, but if your focus is on wealth appreciation, advice is focusing on the projects that enable resale prior to handover. With these pricing, it's a little bit less than Avenue, but those were smaller, more private buildings, and there were only 80 to 100 units or so per building in Avenue's projects. So they were a little bit more private, and their 2 bedrooms were about 4.5 to 6 million. Here, the 2 bedrooms are a bit less. So I would say 4.5 million, probably we can get something. Hopefully I'm not proven wrong when the pricing comes out, but I think either way you get the scenario. What types of units would I aim for? As always, 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms plus. Why? Because they appreciate more than 1 bedrooms. There are fewer in supply than 1 bedrooms. And that means there's less competition when we're exiting, so that it allows for a quicker resale and a quicker reallocation for your capital so that it can continue reaping the highest returns for you. All in, for end use, I think this will be quite good as well. If we consider that it's surrounded by villas, it's more of a private island, and there's not that many projects here, and it's a master community. It will create a nice overall experience for living. I could see myself living there. Keep in mind that this entire area for Dubai Islands, probably the next 5 to 10 years, is what it's going to take for it to be developed. So there will still be construction going on these islands, but they're meant to be more hotels and golf courses there, so it's not going to be quite as busy. And this also means that if you're coming in at this stage, you still have a lot of potential for the investment to appreciate. So to summarize, we have Hado launching from Beyond on Dubai Islands B. I think it's a great investment, both for resale as well as for end use, potentially for passive income. Earliest part of a master community, I think makes for solid investment. So the process will be submitting expressions of interest, or if you're watching this later, we can always get units after the launch. So what do? Please get in touch with me through the link above. I'll be happy to have a discussion with you, schedule a Zoom, discuss how we can work together, whether on this or on other parts of your portfolio. Please subscribe to the channel so you can stay tuned for the best possible investments here in the UAE. Thank you guys for watching. You can leave your comments below. I always appreciate your support. My name is Alex, and I'll see you next time.